I know what to do with this zombie takeout now. I have an idea. I think...
Die. What's up? Welcome to episode 288 of Zombie Takeout. The B-Moving Cult Movie Podcast. I'm Uncle John.
And I'm Scotto.
And before we get to this week's movie, which is going to be a considerable discussion, I think this is going to be a long one, we've got a little bit of listener submitted. This is from, and I apologize if I mispronounce this, Bato Winter on Twitter, who asked us, you doing Total Recall for your 300th show? Not Total Recall. We haven't. We probably should. We might maybe do a two-parter with that and the remake, with the original and the remake. But that's not going to be the episode 300. We will be announcing that in episode 295. That's 7 weeks from now. Basically, at the end of the summer, we'll be announcing it. And 300, by my calculations, assuming no more unscheduled weeks off until then, will be late October, early November. So okay. It's a ways off.
Yeah.
But like I said, in 295, we'll be announcing it. All right, so on to this week's movie, which is from 2008, Synecdoche, New York. And I think I'm probably going to have a super cut at the end of the episode of all the times we mispronounce that and Schenecdoche.
Yeah, it's tough to keep it consistent since the two are so close.
Yeah. All right. That brings us to the impromptu plot summary. Sponsored by Getting Better by Dr. Madeline Gravis. It might help you get better for $45. Oh, and watch out for the abrupt ending.
And also brought to you by the MacArthur Genius Grant. Just how much money do you think they give? All right, so you have it's like two different movies.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
It's the chimera of films.
Yeah. Wow, that just brought back one of the most disturbing lines in the movie.
Oh yes. So we've got this community theater director who's he's doing a production of Death of a Salesman, which the irony is Hoffman wound up acting in on Broadway himself like a few years later. But he's I don't know, he's just always miserable though. Mm-hmm. And everything feels like it's off or just falling apart, and he's just I don't know.
He's kind of always looking for a do-over.
Yeah, he is. And he keeps having these strange medical problems, and these weird things just kind of, hit him in the head literally. Hmm. And then things go from bad to worse, despite his play being a hit. His wife picks up and takes their daughter what appears to be a vacation at first.
Yeah.
Turns into them never seeing each other again.
Mm-hmm.
And from there it gets very
it's a Kaufman movie.
Right. That's when the reality sort of takes a holiday after that, and things start getting weird.
Yeah.
He wins the MacArthur Genius Grant for his one production of Death of a Salesman in a community theater, which I don't know about you, but as a theater guy, I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. Possibly the most mundane play he could have been doing.
I mean, granted, for its time.
Oh yeah, it's a brilliant work, but everybody does Death of a Salesman. It's right. It's become a huge cliche.
Right, exactly. If I remember, I think it was the movie Soap Dish where they were doing that as a dinner theater thing.
Right.
And so yeah, he wins this MacArthur Genius Grant, and he goes and decides to do this theater project where he's not only going to direct it, but he's going to write it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be in this giant warehouse where he's going to construct as much of a city or town. It kind of changes throughout the film.
I just thought of the real inception of this movie, because he's not going to just direct, he's going to write it. And this was Charlie Kaufman's directorial debut. He's not just going to write it, he's going to direct it.
Right. He's going to direct and write at the same time, pretty much. And the cast just keeps getting larger and larger. And he keeps trying to reconnect with his daughter, who he can't get. He's been shut out from.
Right.
And he's trying to reconnect with his ex-wife in some way or another, but she seems elusive. Time also is a real...
It gets weird.
Time is very weird. In fact, I swear, even from the very beginning, when he's reading the paper, the dates on the paper changed
I didn't
as he
notice
was reading
that.
it. I kind of wanted to go back and look at it, but I mean, it was over a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
I didn't have much time to scan back and forth and rewatch.
This is one of those I'm going to have to watch a couple more times to really digest.
Obviously, because this was a bomb going on. This is, I mean, just a shell-shocking of experience. But anyway, to finish up this impromptu plot summary, one of the most difficult ones I think I've ever had to do, honestly, because he keeps running around in circles. He keeps going from one woman to another, and then back again. And he can't quite connect, and as he's getting older as the film moves on very rapidly, and he keeps losing family members.
It takes place over about 40, 50 years, it seems.
Something like that. And at first, their time is very confusing. Like, they've only been gone for a week, and then the other character, they've been gone for a year.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of like, oh.
And the progression of his illness was a little weird in that respect, too.
Well, right. And the progress of his aging, too. Like, it seemed like for the longest time, he wasn't really aging. And then he started aging very rapidly towards the end. And, it's just left where he's too exhausted to do his own part. So he casts this other person as his part.
As the director.
Well, yeah, actually, he did this already. He had somebody else playing his part for him, and he would watch, but he actually abdicated his role of director to the person that was playing this cleaning lady, which he kept doing her job already anyway. Yeah. So they switched roles where he was playing the cleaning lady at the end.
And he was kind of doing that in real life anyway.
Right.
Although real and the play kind of get twisted a lot.
Right. You can't tell the difference between one from the other, honestly. And it ends with him as the cleaning lady and being directed by who used to be the cleaning lady. And I wouldn't say hilarity ensues. No.
I think there were some attempts at some black comedy that kind of missed me at the time, but generally no.
For the time of my life to watch this was rough. This was a tough one, and usually we talk about tapping out of a film because it was so bad, but this one I think it was just because it got
too real.
It was overwhelming.
Yeah.
It was just so much.
Now I'm going to start with a bit of trivia. The film's title is a play on, of course, Schenectady, New York, where much of it is set, and the concept of Synecdoche. It's an actual word, wherein a part of something represents the whole or vice versa.
Okay.
So I just explaining that off the top to explain where the title comes from and how it fits into the movie, because the city in the play is a Synecdoche of the actual city. It's a smaller part representing the whole.
This is going to be tough to summarize after only one viewing, or really discuss, because there's just...
Because I had a really weird reaction to this one, because I didn't get it, really, until about 2/3 of the way in. It was like an hour 15 when it all finally clicked, and up until then, I didn't really like it. It was disappointing for a Kaufman movie.
I don't think I understood much of it until maybe about an hour or so after I'd watched it.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
You know?
I just finished watching it like maybe an hour and a half ago, so it's gonna trigger later. Even after this review is recorded, I think I'm gonna understand it more going up. Continuing on.
Like, so much happens
Mm-hmm.
in the first, like, 36 minutes.
Yeah.
And you look down, you're like, wait a minute. But only 36 minutes have gone by, and, like, he's already gone through all of this stuff with the
Right.
family and everything, and her leaving. And you're like, I don't know if I can take another hour and a half of this.
And that time progression really kind of makes it uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and confusing, which kind of fits the movie ultimately. It didn't at the time, but ultimately it does. And it doesn't even really get weird until about 20 minutes in.
Right.
It's very
Right.
mundane up until the scene with Hazel and the realtor.
Yeah, that is sort of the Wizard of Oz moment of the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
I mean, everything before that seems kind of, plausible and normal, if not a little fucked up and cold,
Right, right.
But that, people have
But it's
made
very
movies like
postmodern
that.
in that sense.
But as soon as you get to that burning
Mm-hmm.
house, and everyone's just, oh yeah, but it's got the house that's on fire kind of thing.
This character Hazel, who Caden, the main character, is having an affair with. She works at the box office at the theater where the play is at, and there's a scene out of nowhere, apropos of nothing, where a realtor is showing her this house that's on fire as they're walking through it.
Now, he seems to not have the affair until after.
Well, yeah, it's true. He doesn't really have an affair with her. He kind of flirts with her up until his wife
Adele is
leaves him.
gone, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not until she points out that Adele's been gone for a year.
Yeah, you're right. He's just kind of flirting with her up until that point.
And he's just how I felt at the end of the movie, kind of just completely like we just had a beatdown of some sort because everything is just getting to him.
And also with the illness, there's this thing called psychosis that happens to him. Not the psychological psychosis,
right?
It's he gets these lesions on his face, and I wonder if they went with psychosis, which is an actual condition. All of this tracks.
Right.
I wonder if they went with that because it is a homonym. Homonym, is that the right word?
Yeah, sounds the same.
For psychosis, the mental illness. Homophone. There you go. I wonder if they went with it because it's a homophone for psychosis, the mental illness, which is a potential explanation for a lot of this.
Well, yeah, there's a number of different theories, of course, you could that this story could follow. I mean, there's face value, which I mean, in that case, I don't know what the fuck is going on.
No.
I mean, just someone dropped a lot of acid, and that's it. Yeah, there's he just had a mental breakdown and just lived the rest of his life in the hospital somewhere.
Well, everything starts getting weird when he takes a headshot. He's shaving and the faucet explodes and the razor hits him in the head. And he possibly gets a concussion. There's this issue with his eyes not dilating correctly.
You're right. That is...
Everything is perfectly normal. In fact, I kind of liked the beginning. There's this sort of mundane chaos of his daily life.
Right.
Up until the sink explodes and the razor hits him in the head.
You're right. That is the point right before, of course, the realtor and everything. So, yeah, that is the point where things started changing.
Although I could have done without all of the, shall we say, excretions. There's a lot of talk about stool, and there's a scene where he's urinating in a sink, and it doesn't look normal.
All of his bodily functions, right? Yeah, he has just blood. I think it was just pure blood coming out, right?
That makes sense. It was dark. That's all I paid attention to, and I tried not to pay much attention to it beyond that. And then there's the scene where he's watching this ad for a medication while brushing his teeth. And he and his family are in the ad. And then he starts using the toothbrush to scrub things.
Well, if you notice, the cartoons that his daughter is watching, he's in them as well.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yes. That's totally like a cartoon version of Philip Seymour Hoffman, like in a boat, like doing whatever the girl was watching.
Right.
So yeah, they're at breakfast. Can I watch cartoons? He turns it on. Yeah, and you look at it, and he doesn't notice. Nobody notices.
Mhm.
But I mean, so of course you could also throw out the theory is that that he had died,
Right.
and it was some sort of purgatory that he had to work his way out of.
Mhm.
Um, and of course it could have just been a mental breakdown.
Yeah. That's the one I'm leaning towards. Well, I
Yeah,
don't know which I'm leaning towards because, for example, when we did the Quentin Dupieux movies, Wrong and Rubber, his weirdness was easy to interpret.
yeah,
He was making a very clear point with all of it.
yeah.
Kaufman is not making a clear point with the weirdness.
No.
Like, what is the fire in Hazel's apartment, which is ongoing throughout the movie, supposed to represent?
40 years later, even when she gets married and
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's really just about life in general.
Mhm.
I would think.
Well, yeah, I
I
think
took it all
that's
in.
kind of what I got from it. They say later in the movie it's about, he's referring to the play. It's about life and death and love and sex and yada yada,
Yeah.
everything in life. And there's another scene where somebody says nobody's an extra. There's this whole speech about how everybody is the main character in their own life, and nobody's an extra, which is a big part of it as well.
I'd been meaning to look up who the hell was that priest. It looked like at first I thought it was one of the
Was it the priest who delivered that line?
yeah.
Okay, because there was another scene where with a priest within the play who talks about how nobody cares about my misery, which is another point where we get into Caden's head, and that scene was kind of chilling in light of Hoffman's suicide.
Of course. This whole movie. I mean, just seeing Philip Seymour Hoffman
Mm-hmm.
itself,
Yeah.
I was just a real just downer in the first place
Yeah.
because remember what happened to him.
Mm-hmm. And as somebody who has some issues with depression, that was another thing that made this movie a little challenging. Particularly when it got to that bit at the end, and where you can see that Caden was really severely depressed through a lot of the movie too.
Of course.
I mean, clinically, he wasn't just sad; he was possibly clinically depressed through it.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to work through my overall interpretation. As I said earlier, with the relationships, he's kind of constantly trying for a do-over. And I think the play was a big attempt at a do-over, a way to control his life and just life in general.
Right. And that was the whole thing was by the time he finally figures it out how to
Mm-hmm.
what to do with it.
Yeah, he's told to die.
It's time. It's done.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the moral of the story is to,
Mm-hmm.
just get your shit together, kind of, I mean,
Incidentally, who was the silhouette when he found out that his father died? Because he was in bed with the third one. I can't think of her name. The actress.
the actress who played Hazel.
No, the actress who he ended up in a relationship with and having a kid with.
Oh.
Michelle Williams is the actor. Is the actress who played her. I can't think of the character's name.
Was that the guy that was stalking him throughout? That's the part I should have put in.
Oh, that could have been it. Because he's in bed with her and he gets a call and finds out that his father died, and you can see the silhouette through the window, and it could have been the guy who was stalking him.
Yeah, he had a guy who was stalking him in the first part, and that's kind of a false little foreshadow there, because you think that's going to be where they collide or whatever, that this stalker is going to throw a wrench into his world, when in fact the stalker just wants to audition to play him in this great play, even though he didn't know that that was going to happen.
Apparently it was already foretold that he was going to be creating this play.
So
but that's a good possibility. I didn't think about the stalker. I don't think we knew about the stalker by that scene, did we?
He's in like the very beginning.
Well, no, but I'm saying he didn't announce himself until later, and I didn't notice him until then.
Right? Yeah, he's like when Hoffman goes out to get the mail or something.
Oh, yes.
He's standing on the other side of the street.
I totally forgot about
staring.
him. Now that you mentioned, I remember the scene, but I totally forgot about him afterwards.
Yeah, he's like in there, like the very beginning. You see him in a few different shots, actually.
I got to go through it again.
Yes. And yes, his father was in the scene where at the funeral for his mom, even though the father had died already.
Oh, wow. See, you watched it a few days ago, I'm guessing, a couple
Yesterday.
as usual,
Yesterday.
and probably had time to go through it and notice some stuff afterward.
That was the only thing I scanned back for. I'm like,
Okay.
was his father really there? I was like, okay, I got to see that.
I just finished it, shortly before we recorded. I did try to skim through it a little bit to check my interpretation to see if it tracked, but that's about it. There's another scene that kind of, I think, sums up a lot of, that sums up Caden's state of mind and possibly gives a window into the point of it all. After his mother passed away, he never cleaned up the room in which she was murdered. He just thought someone else would do it.
Yeah.
So he's kind of, he has a tendency to push problems aside.
I don't know. I mean, I think it was just the funeral, and they just come back.
Possibly. But he
I don't
said
know
he
what
thought
was
someone
thinking.
else would do it. It wasn't that he
Yeah.
didn't get around to it yet.
I mean, it's pretty close to the event.
Yeah, but he actually flat out says he thought someone else would do it, so which was,
Yeah.
telling. Now, there's actually a play version of the film.
I can't imagine how that would be pulled off.
Published in 2009 by Nick Hearn Books. There should be, and if there isn't, somebody's missing an opportunity, a production of this perpetually going on in Schenectady.
Well, yeah, it could put the town on the map.
So if you're in Schenectady and you like this movie and you have any theater connections, get on that.
You know what? That's what this is. This reminds me of one of my favorite plays. It's the one play that I've always wanted to come back to actually direct, and that would be Six Characters in Search of an Author by Luigi Pirandello, where it is about the stage manager trying to come up with a plot to put on, and then there's in the middle of this rehearsal, these six characters from a play just walk out on stage.
Wow.
And they have their backstories and their stuff, and they're arguing about some, devices and shit in theater, and what's indecent and what isn't.
Okay,
And
I know the title, but and I was always kind of intrigued by the title, but I never really looked into what the play was about.
yeah, and it just gets more and more intense as the play goes on, because their stories, of course, are just these melodramatic stories, but he's putting them in this real life setting of these actors. Like, how the hell am I going to play that kind of, But it's real to them.
Right. Now, did you catch the Harold Pinter reference at the beginning?
Oh yes, of course. How could I miss that?
At the start of the film, when Hoffman is reading the news at the breakfast table, he reads out that Harold Pinter had died. Wait, no, he won the Nobel Prize. This is a reference to a famous Sky News clip whereby Sky, in their rush to be the first with breaking news, accidentally announced that Pinter had died, when in fact he had won the Nobel Prize.
I was going to say, Pinter didn't die till it was a little after this.
But yeah, apparently that was an actual thing that had happened. And
yeah,
of course I had looked up the trivia beforehand, but if I didn't know that, had actually happened, I would have thought that was just a good gag.
And I swear that the paper read sometime in October. The radio announcer then says Happy Halloween. And then when he goes to look back at the paper, it's like November 3rd.
It wouldn't surprise me. It was just too subtle for me to catch.
Like a whole week goes by in the span of just like a minute.
Now, this could be interesting given the impact the film had on you. The film began when Sony Pictures approached Kaufman and Spike Jonze, who also paired on Malkovich, and did they do Eternal Sunshine together too?
I think they may have.
When Sony approached them about making a horror film, the two began working on a film dealing with things they found frightening in real life rather than the typical horror tropes. And the project eventually evolved into this. Jones was originally going to direct, but he chose to do Where the Wild Things Are instead.
You know what? The tone in the very beginning is kind of like a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like that's what they started out making right in that first half hour, where the stalker is going to be,
right,
terrorizing them. They do kind of make it look like that's where it's going. And then all of a sudden it just goes apeshit. And I just looked up the person that played the preacher, Christopher Evan Welch,
Okay.
who is mostly known for playing the mogul on Silicon Valley, who
Okay.
actually he passed away 3 years ago.
Oh, wow. Now, Kaufman made a really brave choice with this movie. At least I think it was brave.
Of course, the whole
Well,
movie,
a lot of brave choices, but one in particular.
this whole thing was just a ballsy thing to do.
But there's one in particular, and it's almost a rule, like a hard and fast rule that he broke. Caden is not likable. The protagonist is an asshole.
Yeah.
Which I think is a big part of why the movie didn't click for me for so long. Because I couldn't get behind him.
But you still feel bad, because, like, I mean, it was surprising that he didn't cheat, you know?
Yeah.
It looked like, I mean, yeah, he flirted with, the actress.
But it wasn't even really, like, hardcore flirting. It was sort of, like, awkward, innocent, just finding excuses to talk to her.
Because, I mean, you really believe that he loves his family.
Mm-hmm.
So and then just all of a sudden, they're gone.
Yeah.
And then this over-the-top, evil woman just comes between him and his family. You just kind of, it was absurdly evil, too.
Yeah. And there were also some moments of what I think might have been black comedy that just didn't quite land for me when he's initially rehearsing for the play. And he says, I've been thinking about death a lot. And nobody really reacts. I think that was supposed to be funny. Or when Michelle Williams' character just randomly drops that her mother had just died.
Yeah.
Even though she was out to dinner with him to discuss the role.
Right. It's very weird.
I think they were supposed to be funny, but I'm not sure.
I don't know if it was funny or just indifference, or it was,
Yeah.
I mean, it was just the absurdity of it all. I mean, it was very Ionesco.
Yeah.
It was
right
where people were saying things to substitute for their own feelings, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I did think, speaking of feelings, that the diary was a nice touch.
Right, this diary that somehow updated.
His daughter, who was 4 when she left, or when she was taken away, left her diary behind, and his ex-wife tells him, not to look at it because, she didn't, it was his daughter's diary. Of course he shouldn't look at it. Of course he does. And through the years it updates.
Yes, it somehow updates.
So he can kind of keep tabs on what she's doing. Up to the point where she's dying, which is the only time he ever sees her again.
Well, he did see her one time before she was dying.
Well, did he really see her, or was that his imagination? You're talking about in the booth?
Yeah.
Well, there was also the magazine where he saw her.
Yeah.
I hope that was a painted bodysuit.
I think she had to endure some ridiculous amount of time to get painted, but
yeah,
that was supposed to have been her. Because she had the tattoos, like the same tattoos from
the photo in the magazine, yeah.
And the magazine, and to when she was dying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So he did somehow see her stripping at one point.
Yes, his first time seeing her in like
10 years?
15 years or something.
15 probably, yeah. If not 20.
Yeah, she's naked and dancing.
Mm-hmm. With no context, he's just suddenly in this peep show watching his daughter strip.
Well, yeah, he sees the sign advertising.
Oh, right.
And decides to, is that her? And yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then the ending, which is really where it clicked for me with the play. Because it kind of connected how, effectively, the first movie, as you put it, where it's, he's going through these relationships and his life is falling apart along with this, progressive, bizarre illness. It kind of connected those pieces with the play, which is his attempt to sort of redo his life.
Right. He's going in circles both in his life and creatively, too. Mm-hmm. Where he's just, I mean, I don't know if you could actually say what he's doing is creating something, but he's, trying to just hold this giant mirror up to the planet and, show it back, as realistically as possible.
Well, that was sort of the other point of the movie, because I think Caden's story is one point of the movie, and then the play is another point of the movie, which is where we get into the whole nobody's an extra thing.
And you can't have total realism in your art.
Right.
Which I think is where they were going with this in the end, because if you did have total realism, or true realism, you would just be making a whole series of sad stories where everybody dies in the end.
It would be Hemingway.
Yes, exactly.
Neither of us are big Hemingway fans, so it's kind of a recurring joke.
So I had dinner with Fitzgerald the other night.
Exactly.
Really? Great.
But I think that's the really fascinating thing about this movie is I'm tempted to say he tried to say too much. Because he's trying to say like 5 different things.
In like 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's the first time in a while where it's been like, wow, I mean, he could have actually gone on for 3.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody could psychologically withstand 3 hours of it.
This is a rare case of a movie that's over 2 hours, admittedly just slightly over 2, where we're not saying it could have been shorter.
No.
It couldn't have been shorter. It should have maybe been a little longer.
What I'm trying to wrap my head around, though, is the role of the cleaning woman and him.
He was trying to clean up his mess.
Were they really separate people? Were they the same person then?
I don't know what the actuality of it is, because it's a Kaufman movie, but I just kind of connected why he became that. He spent the entire movie trying to clean up his mess.
Was he always that, though? I mean...
Well, it's good luck in analyzing it. He ultimately becomes it.
I mean, they talk about him being a woman, perhaps, but then, like, the painting of the cleaning woman, I don't know if that came from when she was still in New York or whether that was in Germany.
Well, when he started masquerading as her, was that in New York?
Yes.
Okay.
And the fact that it was his I don't want to say doppelganger, but his actor,
right,
Sammy, who gave him the address, who knew about it, that where she was. I was kind of hoping for them to at least have one more scene together. But I mean, again, true realism.
Yeah, exactly.
You sometimes never do, That's
I loved the wig he was wearing when she took over as director. Because then he had to look like her.
Yeah.
They kind of switched roles again. And that's I think, again, symbolically what that means is he's sort of interchangeable with this cleaning woman because he was trying to fix his mess. He had destroyed his life at that point, and he was trying to fix it, even if it was just through this artistic statement.
Well, it starts with the toothbrush,
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's the first part with the cartoon, beginning. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's it for my notes. Surprisingly, I thought we'd go much longer on this.
I could not take a whole lot of notes on this because it was just, I mean, like, how do you diagram something like
yeah,
this?
Exactly.
This is so fucking crazy.
And along similar lines, there aren't going to be any sequels because he dies at the end. Spoilers. And, I mean, I think we gave that away already. And we can spoil every second of this movie and you still have to see it.
Well, right.
And there's no way anyone should ever try to remake this.
Yeah. I mean, I could see if someone tried to do a stage production.
Oh, yeah. Stage production would be cool. But not a film.
In a warehouse, of course.
Of course.
Constructing something massive. Yeah, I met Philip Seymour Hoffman very briefly once. I mean, I just held the door for the guy. But the thing that...
I've had a similar run-in with Richie Havens.
I mean, it was at this opening night party for a show he directed at the theater I was working in at the time. And opening nights are usually, kind of ritzy places. This was like a rooftop at a hotel in Chicago, so it was
Mm.
pretty high end stuff. And usually people dress up for it. He's wearing his jeans
Mhm.
and his, those varsity jackets,
Uh-huh.
kind of. He was wearing a New York Jets varsity, like green felt with white leather
I
sleeves.
think I've seen him in that because it's way too easy to picture it. So I had to have seen it at some point.
That is what he was wearing, and I just held the door for him going
Mm.
in, and it was a crazy night. There was actually a Native American actor that we were drinking with, and
Mm.
Brian Dennehy was there, and it
Oh
was
god.
that was
I don't think you've told the story in that kind of detail before, so that's good. Because a lot of this was new to me. On to brains.
on to brains.
I really have no idea what to make of this. And for that reason, I have to recommend that I'm going for.
This is the Chris Tucker from Rush Hour.
Yeah.
Which one of y'all just kicked me? If you want to make your meme as to how I felt after I watched this movie, uh, I'm gonna go 5 because
all
I've
right.
got to watch this again, and there's just so much to take out from
Mhm.
it and stuff, and
Right.
hopefully I'm in better spirits when I watch it again.
Yeah.
But
I spent most of the movie hating it, so I don't want to go much higher than a 4, but I have to recommend it just because
yeah,
it's such a monster.
yeah, it is. That's a great way to describe it. It is a monster. It is Little Winky,
Yeah.
4-year-old white supremacist. It
All
had
right.
some pretty funny shit through it
Oh yeah, that was good.
that you never see coming.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it because they don't wink at most of it.
No.
But there's a couple of points where, particularly with the priest, he just kind of states the point of it, which was a little disappointing. He kind of just sums things up for people who weren't quite keeping up.
I can't imagine them not summing things up.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
If it wasn't for that scene with the priest and the whole, there are 13 million people in
Hmm.
this world and not one of them is an extra.
Right.
I mean, if it didn't have pretty much, the climax of the film right there, if it didn't have that, I don't know. I would, I
Yeah.
would have just started drinking, I think. I don't know what the hell. I think I'd have lost my mind.
So a little Basil exposition was necessary for you.
Yeah. Just hold my hand and tell me what's going on here before I don't know, lose my shit.
Right. All right. So what have we learned?
We learned that plumbing is full of blood.
And I learned that the eyes are part of the brain, apparently.
Is that morally right or
Yeah.
or factually?
I forgot to mention that this is part 1 of a Charlie Kaufman 2-parter. We're doing both of the films that he has both written and directed. So, of course, next week that means we're reviewing Anomalisa. It's a puppet movie.
After a double header of Kaufman,
Mm-hmm.
Sharknado is going to be
Yeah.
quite a jarring.
It's a nice palate cleanser, I'm thinking. If Sharknado is going to be a very welcome palate cleanser.
We're gonna need to chill after this.
Yeah. I'm hoping that it doesn't get quite so heady. I'm hoping just the puppets are the weirdness and it's just a nice, normal human story.
We'll see. We'll see.
Until then, go to zombietakeout.com, check out the album art, the episode description, of course, the episode itself, which you're already listening to. Links to find us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and YouTube. Links to subscribe via RSS and iTunes. Please leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. Also, if you enjoy the show, spread the word. Give us a little word of mouth. Of course, we appreciate all of the listeners we have, but more would be better. You'll also find the movie list, every movie we've reviewed so far, and every movie we're going to review. Slightly past 300, we'll see exactly where. I think Dress to Kill is the placeholder, because I don't think we agreed to review that anytime soon.
It's a little off now, actually.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit past 300, because we've stuck some stuff in. We were trying to avoid Batman and Robin.
Yeah, we should have tried harder.
You'll also find the request form. If you've got a movie you'd like to hear us review, please leave it on the request form. And, of course, the recommendations list. I actually almost put a 5 for my rating before watching the movie because it's Kaufman. I wasn't far off.
I don't know. It was, I was kind of hooked in from the beginning.
Of course, you can email somebodytakeout@gmail.com or leave us a voicemail at 414-368-TTL1, or for the alphanumerically challenged,
you can go fuck yourself.
414-368-9861. Of course, always remember that you will always be calling from the middle of Milwaukee. I just realized we never mispronounced Synecdoche or Schenectady in the episode.
I think I avoided saying it.
There were no edits with regard to that. There are plenty of edits, but we never mispronounced either of them. So, of course, until next time, always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life, there you are.
There you are.
I like weird.
Just how much money do you think they give?
We actually looked that up and we'll be discussing it later.
Yeah. All right. So